and it didn't work this time. I'm all disappointed with myself.
Professional.
Total and utter professionalism here. So we're here for Cloudy's Roundup, where we're going to talk over this wee bit of news this week. And what's your anything? Not really, but we will kick things off. And we want to say thank you to our sponsor. Thank you to channel member No One. Sorry, I just love that one. Channel member No One. Absolutely brilliant name there. So it's going to be this is going to be a bit of fun here tonight, I think. We are going to give a roundup, and we're also going to give a bit of a state of Stadia and a state of GFN this week, because there has been big news out from both of them. So we're going to have a small, tiny, minute little talk about that. But Barry, first of all, what's the crack?
It's Friday, and boy am I glad. It's felt like a long week. I'm ready for the weekend. But aside of that, I'm good. I'm really good. How about you?
I am absolutely awesome. This has been a very long week, so it has. It has been very, very busy, and I'm looking forward to the weekend as well, so we can chill out and have a bit of fun and watch some sport and watch the mighty Liverpool get tanked the weekend.
Yes, we're going to be at war for about 90 minutes on Sunday.
Probably a bit longer than the 90 minutes, but yes, if Liverpool win, I won't be at war.
No, that's true.
Yeah. What's the crack of everybody like controlling me for? So
I don't know. Thank you very much, Dr. Spaceman, for coming a part of the Cloudy crew.
Oh, thank you very, very much for that. Good news, we can do a promotion of that to start off with. On Thursday, on our GFN On show, we will be giving away a copy of the big game of the week, which is Guardians of the Galaxy for PC. So you will be able to play that on GFN later that day. So keep an eye on that. What we do know with the GFN copy of Guardians of the Galaxy, you will be able to play that with RTX. So fun. Yes. And with the news which has dropped this week, that could get even more spicy for you. So I advise people to watch that on Thursday. For people who didn't see it the last time when we gave away a copy of Hot Wheels.
Yeah.
It was Hot Wheels. We do it completely fair. It is out there in the open, and people can see who's going to win. And we do practice spins to get it all mixed up and everything, so everybody can see that is done fairly.
We do indeed. And whilst we're there, we're going to say thank you very much to Polaris, and happy Friday to you as well.
I was just retweeting this. Just for the crack, just for the fun. But we are into the fun season where the games are coming. We've got big announcements. So where do we want to start with first? Should we start off with? It's not fair to say the lesser news, because it is a game which has dropped onto another cloud platform. You're meant to be doing this, and I'm meant to be guessing, not me saying where we're going to first. I've just realised that.
I thought we were going in your order tonight, so I'm just like, here we go.
Yes. Okay, we'll start with Luna. So what did Luna do this week? I'm putting Barry because we didn't rehearse this. We haven't done any prep.
No, we didn't. They dropped a game today. I've seen it on social media. And I've forgotten the name of the game. I'll be brutally honest. My mind has been so full of little random, probably useful and useless facts this week that I don't think I've got any more capacity for remembering anything right now.
So you've got a bit of amnesia?
Yeah, you might say.
Oh, sissy! So, as is part of Halloween, they have dropped a bit of a horror game in Amnesia. For
Oh, that's just for you, Duncan.
Yeah. Polaris, you're embarrassing me here. Don't be doing this sort of stuff. It's like,
Oh dear.
come on. Where was I?
He's thrown you off now, hasn't he?
It has thrown me off. For people who don't know, New World has dropped onto GFM. We're going to be covering that in a bit more detail. Yes, we're in the Luna spot here, but I think it is worth highlighting it hasn't went to Luna, which is a big question mark over things there. And I think we're going to have to see what is going to happen there. Will New World drop onto Luna quickly now because it's going to GFN, or is it going to be holding off? Like I know I'm going to say abroad we here, but I think this is both of us here. We both thought that New World was waiting to go on to Luna because of controller support. Do we still think that's the case? Has this maybe shaken confidence in Luna going forward?
I don't think it's. I think they're still. I mean, whilst I know we touched on it briefly yesterday, I think whilst in the main, it's not necessarily a great look for the fact that an Amazon Game Studios game has gone elsewhere before it's gone to their subservice. I do think the controller element is playing it. Is going to play a strong part in that because they are not going to. Obviously, they want to be confident that the controller support, especially with that the Luna controller giving direct connection, is going to work properly. But certainly, it's not a great look. But then, with some of the money that Amazon Game Studios have put in to some of their games, some of their projects, we know that they've had a little bit of a tough time. Kind of goes without saying that whilst they've got that concurrent player base, and whilst kind of GFN have been showing the subscriber base, that you're kind of actually going to want to try as much as possible to kind of really kind of make some money in and kind of bring that revenue in and keep it going, especially considering it's so reasonably priced. I think at $34.99 here in the UK. I actually think it's really well priced for the scale and size of the game that it is, especially given that it's going to develop. So yeah.
Yes, when we go on to the New World and Stadia talk, there is I think what you've just mentioned there is something we're going to have a little joke about, possibly. Someone made the joke earlier. I don't know if they want me to say who it was and whatnot, but the pricing, I think it's just compare and contrast of where you are, and it's going to be really interesting. With the Luna sort of stuff, I think this tells me that Luna is far off now, and they are really going to really slow play this now. And personally, I was shocked that out from all the announcements out from GFN this week, the New World one was the one which shocked me the most, because it's another cloud gaming platform is getting that ahead of their own first party one. So I think that just shows you the size of GFN at the moment and where Luna is. I think we'll have to just see how this is going to pan out, but it does raise some question marks over Luna going forward. Just what are they going to be doing? And that has actually opened up a lot more questions for Luna down the line.
Yeah, I think it probably has, and I think in some respects, I think although they've done well because they've been in the beta, they've had that beta tag for just over a year now, and I say literally just over a year. It is a fraction over a year. They didn't really. I think there was an element of some kind of anticipation that maybe that 1 year of it kind of being announced and being available, we may have seen something else in terms of maybe a rollout, maybe a slightly further afield rollout in North America towards Canada, or maybe even something towards the EU. And that didn't happen. So that kind of first year anniversary, if you like, has kind of come and gone without anything really. So I think they're certainly playing off their own script. I think is fair to say. But I think we can both agree that it wasn't a great look, shall we say, as you say, for a first party game, kind of landing somewhere else in the cloud before hitting its own gaming service.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be one to keep an eye on. And with the next games coming out from Amazon Game Studios, which I always forget the name of, and I think, oh, it looks cool, but I keep on forgetting the name of it. Will that end up going to GFN now? That is the big one.
Yeah, it's well, that's the thing. These questions are, I think, what felt like the impossible has now become possible. So you kind of feel like maybe now it's perfectly reasonable to ask those questions if those kind of things are going to happen down the line.
Yes, shall we move on? Okay, we've got some PlayStation 9 news.
Yes, we do indeed.
And you know this PlayStation 9 news?
I do know this PlayStation 9 news.
Yes, it's actually quite cool, this one, because it is...
It's the obviously the Rockstar have confirmed the release of November the 11th for the remastered trilogy, and we've got one of the three. Is it Vice City that's going to PS now? Oh, it's 3, isn't it? Yeah, that's going to PS now in December.
Yes, in December. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is good to hear there. So PlayStation now is getting a bit of love out there, and they're actually announcing games well in advance here as well, that what's coming, which is really good for a subscription service, because just like Microsoft's Game Pass, which we can talk about now, so this is a nice wee segue, they are getting San Andreas,
yeah,
day and date. Plus, they dropped a couple of games this week as well on Game Pass. I'm just going to double check the yeah, we think I have this all flipping rehearsed and all that and done, but no, I don't run like that. Can you remember?
It's not how we roll.
we do not rule like that. We just go by the seat of our pants. This week they got Dragon Ball Fighter C, Echo Generation, Into the Pit, and we have Into the Pit and Dragon Fighter C, Dragon Ball Fighter C. There should be some videos going up in that shortly on our channel, and we Happy is also going to be discussing why he loves Game Pass so much. After this, we've got a pre-taped thing here, and that will be going up when we finish here. Anything else we want to talk about Xbox, sir?
No, I think we covered everything with PS Now.
Yeah, I think that will.
The one thing I was going to say about PS Now is, I know obviously the announcement, Rockstar have made that announcement today, but there seems to be kind of an element of rumours circling that November might not necessarily be the best of months, shall we say, because I think there's going to be a lot of focus on VR for PlayStation next month. So I think it's interesting that already we're hearing in December that's going to be coming to the service, and I think that maybe, potentially they just, they want to keep good news rolling in that respect. And then obviously the Xbox stuff, yeah, we've covered that.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how much PlayStation now has on its service as well. And as I don't want to say it, I know it's Nintendo. He does some streams for Gaming Source Network. I always get the name, and he has been putting out a ton of stuff there for them. when that drops to Mac OS and mobile, that could really take off, or not really take off. It could really push this onto the next sort of level for them, because Last of Us is available. Last of Us 2 is available on PlayStation now this month, and they have that massive back catalogue of games. I think it's like 800 games they've got like in the cloud. It's absolutely ridiculous number. So when that starts really ramping up, it's going to be fun as well.
It is, and it definitely is. And I know kind of, Dr. Spaceman was saying in the chat, kind of don't sleep on it, because they're really working on it. They're really improving on it. And certainly having kind of, utilised and, and used the service here and there, you can certainly see, that it's made big leaps, and it's a very different service from what it was when it first hit.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, I'm doing the absolute least today. So
You are, yeah. I don't think I've said it once yet.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. Go away there. Go away. No, sorry. So you see what happened there, didn't you?
Yeah. I clocked it. Yeah.
It was just annoying. A wee message popped up on our screen here, which we just needed to get rid of. With that, I say what do we start with? Stadia or GFN?
I think it's 50-50. It's all cloud in it, so it doesn't matter where we start.
Yeah, you choose. Yeah, and then you choose here, so I don't get thrown under the bus.
Let's go to Stadia first. We didn't do a Stadia show this week, so let's cover it.
We'll go to Stadia then. Believe it or not, you wouldn't believe it with the lack of communication coming out from Stadia this week. And we're going to touch the other big subject after this. We're going to talk about the good news of things here. You wouldn't believe it, because there was no blog post, there was no This Week in Stadia post, even though there should have been one, because there's so much news from Stadia this week. This has probably been, it's been I would say, taking outside the white labeling stuff again, which we'll come to shortly. This has been a very good week for Stadia from the Stadia goggles on, and just looking at from a Stadia perspective. This week there has been a number of games dropped. Child of Light has dropped. Haste Simulator. We have also got Peppa Pig. Peppa Pig. Yes. And there's a couple. The Dragon Ball game as well.
Yeah.
We also have Ben 10 Power Trip and Riders Republic. For Stadia, this was a big week. It may not have a big AAA title, but this is probably the most amount of games outside of a Pro Week they have dropped in a long time.
Yeah, I think it is, and it's it has been good to see, and I think it's worth saying I was glad to see that the Riders Republic Trial Week has been applicable in the cloud this week as well, which has been positive.
Okay, I will touch my experiences on Riders Republic in the cloud, and this isn't me going, "Oh, you're just saying this to be bad and evil." I can tell you, other people have been saying this. I think the Riders Republic port needs to be 60 FPS. It is making me feel nauseous playing it on Stadia. It's like we'll call it the Polaris sucks point. It feels like you're playing bad VR. This is just for me. It's not going to affect everybody, and it is when it's on 30 FPS games on Stadia. Some of them make me feel sick, and unfortunately Riders Republic is one of them games. I know some people are loving this game, but I think there has been a lot of people concerned that it's not at 60 FPS, because not only is it not 60 FPS, it is cross-platform play, which is absolutely amazing, but Stadia seems to be the only platform or next-gen platform that does not have the option for 60 FPS.
Yeah, definitely. I've jumped into Riders Republic on Stadia very briefly this week, and certainly I'm not going to do an out-and-out straight comparison, but the beta stages, I tested it in PS5, so I had a kind of really good, I guess, a really good base for how I kind of felt it should work and how it should perform. And I think you can see it's not there, it's not necessarily as crisp, as clear as it should be. And because it's actually quite a fast-paced game because of the nature of kind of the downhill kind of action and, racing on the road and all that sort of stuff, it's the kind of thing where you almost do need, that frame rate. You need to be able to kind of follow it quite well, especially with everything moving quite fast when you pick up pace. So, I mean, obviously, it goes without saying it's great to have it on the platform. I'd like to see maybe them put a few more tweaks in ahead of its launch next week, for sure.
Yeah, the 30 FPS really, really needs to be looked at. And I don't think there'll be, unless they've been hiding some secret stuff behind the scenes, I don't see that 60 FPS coming for a while. Really, really needs it, especially in competitive multiplayer sort of games, which this is, I think, going to be pushing itself as a big, massive multiplayer title. And if you're going against other people on different platforms who have the 60 FPS, it is an advantage to them because
100%.
And this does need looked at, unfortunately. Outside of that, it is good that it has came. And I think we have to praise that it's a cross-plat multiplayer game as well, which is absolutely great, and we need more of them on Stadia. That should be the default going forward, even if it's just with PC users or console users. Stadia needs the cross-platform multiplayer because we are starting to see the FIFA posts crop up very, very regular now that there is multiplayer matching issues in FIFA, and FIFA is such a multiplayer game. So we need these games to have it, and Riders Republic having that is absolutely fantastic.
Definitely, and I think you make a great point in kind of relation to that cross-plat and kind of touching on FIFA there as well, because of course EA have been on social media today kind of talking about how long FIFA 22 has been available, and then they've kind of pushed out some of the stats over how many games, how many matches, how many goals have been scored, all that sort of stuff. And so it goes without saying, some of those stats are phenomenal and scary given the time that it's been out. There's kind of like trillions of minutes and bloody millions of goals and all that sort of stuff. It's ingrained. Can't speak now. It's crazy. That was a cross between insane and crazy. Then it came out in crane. So
yeah, it's all good fun. Also on Stadia this week, we have a free-to-play weekend in Death by Chocolate.
Yes, we do.
Which hasn't been, which I think has just been announced by Stadia in their Twitter account in the last half hour of the NR. So, this week was probably the worst week for Stadia to be sloppy. I think sloppy is probably the best with the communication and lack of communication.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of get the air of when there's big news and there's other things happening in the gaming world. I fully appreciate sometimes you kind of take on board that and kind of go, actually, now's not the right time maybe for us to say stuff. But I kind of feel like the communication this week was a little bit it's a little bit all over the place, because there was we had the Tuesday hold, if you're looking for TWAS, then like come back next week. And then there was kind of, Wednesday kind of went by. Thursday, obviously, we know how Thursday went. Massive news. And then we kind of got a blog post that kind of came out at a really bizarre time. And it was kind of just like, well, hang on a minute. Either you're not communicating because there's no this week on Stadia, or they've kind of seemed to have gone for a bit of a mishmash of a halfway house, and it's kind of come off like they weren't quite sure what to do this week or how to, almost as if they've been indecisive potentially as to actually what's the best thing for us to do. Do we carry on as normal? Do we just stay quiet for a few days and let things blow over? What is it? What do we do?
Yeah, I think it's this week on Stadia, and this isn't actually me making a bad pun, has just summed up for me what is completely and utterly wrong with Stadia and their communication. We're not making a blog post. We're making a blog post. We've made the blog post. We've left out a ton of information, and there was the sales on Stadia as well. This week on Stadia, again, not meaning to do this, there could have been about 5 or 6 blog posts out there, and come tonight at 8 o'clock UK time, 3 o'clock Eastern and noon Pacific, they could have dropped that this week on Stadia and just do a big recap of the news going into the weekend. Dropping lots of small blog posts, even if it's just the 1 game or 2 games, just gives a sense of that there's a sense of kinetic sort of energy out there, that there's something happening. It just feels like it's a complete another hodgepodge of, well, we're just going to do what the hell we want. Can we fit this blog post? No, we're not doing a blog post. Oh, okay, yes, you can do the blog post, but don't mention the free stuff at the weekend. Don't mention the sales. Mention some games coming, and let's drop it on the Thursday where everything is blowing up because of the GFN stuff.
Yeah,
it doesn't make that much sense to me what was going on there.
No, it doesn't make sense. And there was a part of me that kind of wondered and questioned, especially with the AT&T news coming out, whether there was maybe some level of agreement to sort of say, hang on, maybe don't say too much because let AT&T do their thing, because as a partner or on some level of partnership, they need to be pushing that out, so that takes precedence over what we need to do this week or something something similar.
Yes, and I'll just go on to the point I was going to make. It's also me making this joke where if the person wants to take credit, I will let them take credit for it. Here we go. I think this sums up for me the situation with the games on Stadia this week. And this isn't me making fun of the games. This is just compare and contrast. It's good to have a variation of games out there. And I am not making fun of this game. I'm just saying compare and contrast. Peppa Pig is £35, $40. New World is £35 and $40. And there should be lots of kid games everywhere, but this is the meme which has been taking over today. And Peppa Pig is now on Stadia. People are joking about this, but if you compare it to what has gone on with GFN this week, it just isn't a great sort of look. And I just said Tom Warner has done a tweet there saying, "Oh my goodness, look at this! Peppa Pig has now landed on Stadia." Though they completely taking the pay, and I think this is where Stadia really needs to really get their marketing and PR. They are now becoming such a laughing stock out there that they really need to do something to counter it.
Yeah, definitely. They do. They need to. They need to get their communication. I'm going to use a dangerous word now, but they need to have a communication strategy, and they need to know what it is, and they need to stick to it. That I could be I could be being unjust and being overly critical of them on that particular point, but I think based on what we're seeing this week for the, it's almost like they've done the hokey cokey of communication this week. That to me doesn't speak strategy. As I say, it speaks indecision and a lack of clarity. Maybe even, I guess, with what's going on, maybe even a little bit of a lack of confidence with the strides and steps that some other people have made in the market. Good evening, Vet. Thanks for jumping in.
Now we will get on to the spicy topic of Stadia. If that wasn't spicy enough for you. See, exactly that. That is why we have called it that. It is just meant to be a bit of a play on words, and it's just meant to be a bit of fun.
Definitely.
This week it has now been confirmed. I really want to go to town about some of this stuff, but I am going to contain myself. It has now been confirmed, after some people said this when Stadia Games and Entertainment shut down back in February time and got ridiculed for it. Stadia is now starting to become a white label. And 6 months to a year, I think we're into 6 months to a year since that announcement, and we have that now with AT&T, and they are bringing Batman to their cloud gaming service, and this is not on Stadia, and this is going to open up a big can of worms going forward. Before we start, I'm going to lay out some of the groundwork here, just to show where people are likely to be heading towards. I think there's 3 zones. The first zone is, oh my god, this is the final nails in Stadia's coffin. It is just a matter of time that it's going to go. This is the moves I've been planning for all along. And go on, Streamlabs bot.
Streamlabs bot does not like the caps.
Yes, stop using the caps. Yeah, this is the final nails in Stadia's coffin. This is them going, and it's just a matter of time before we get the announcement that Stadia's gone and it's going to go full white label. I'm just going. That's maybe a bit overkill, but I'm just trying to get the harshest way. I'm not saying I feel like that. I'm just trying to break it down in a bit more of a colourful sort of way. So I bet the first bit of that just gets clipped. The second camp would be, this is absolutely amazing news. This means the games are going to be on Stadia. All they have to do now is just click the button and they will be magically put onto Stadia. So Stadia's library is going to explode because every single one of these games, which is made by a third party, is going to move across. The third option is, we're going to just have to wait and see what this means. It's far too early, and we're going to have to just see how this pans out, because it could be the good thing, it could be the bad thing, or it could be a nothing thing. It could be just a trial. Would you agree with them 3 different places?
Yeah, I think they're fairly accurate in terms of where people will fall in terms of their perception on what's going on, for sure. I mean, do you want me to go first?
You can go first if you want to.
Okay. I mean,
do you want to I'm just thinking you probably want to get it over and done with.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, I think from my perspective, I mean, yeah, I think there are probably elements from, and this is not me sitting on the fence by saying this, just to clarify that, there are probably elements from each of those 3 categories that you could probably take a mix of and maybe put somewhere in a big melting pot and go, there you go, there's roundabout your rough answer. I think there's things you could take from each thing. So if I kind of look at those 3 categories, if we go, oh well, that's the final nail, I wouldn't necessarily say it's it is at that stage, by any stretch of the imagination. But what I would say is it's interesting, if 2021 has shown us anything, Google's, shall we say, Google stroke Stadia, we'll put them both in that little bit of a category, kind of together. Their messaging has seemed very different this year. With the exception of a blog post, they have not communicated to end users about any updates, about anything that's kind of really happening other than games that are coming on sort of weekly, all these little features, that we knew were kind of due to be coming, and they've managed to get them rolled out. Their line of communication, their messaging has all been to people that sit very much sort of behind the scenes in the industry. So that's a whole different language of talk. And yes, what you are seeing now is parts of the fruits of that, because we had that AT&T partnership where they gave away 6 months free Stadia earlier in the year. Now, lo and behold, AT&T have rolled out Batman, which we now know is running on Stadia Tech. So they're clearly, you can kind of see that picture that's built. But certainly there is a change in the way Stadia are communicating. They're certainly, they don't seem as customer friendly or as customer focused, shall we say, in terms of their messaging. I think a lot of the messaging is for a very different audience. Then you've kind of got that middle of the road, this is great, we'll get games on Stadia. Is it a possibility? Yes, but because of the third category of it's probably too early, there are far too many unknowns as to how the makeup, particularly of that AT&T service, and how it's running. We don't know what the makeup is and what elements of that technology has been used. Has there been a difference in kind of being able to get the game onto the platform? We know that they've been talking about kind of making things easier. So there's all of those things that you kind of put into the melting pot. Yeah.
I just want to confirm something. This is running on Linux.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
9to5 Google have got to confirm that it is running on Linux. This is not a Windows port. I didn't want to interrupt you in full through there. That's why I put my hand up like a school kid.
No worries. Well, that kind of, that maybe kind of diminishes that point. But I think still seeing how they've maybe kind of implemented it, how they've done it. I checked out Ftendo's stream the other day where he kind of streamed it. Just to kind of see how well it was running, having played Arkham Knight. And, I think you could certainly tell in the way it was performing, it looked Stadia-esque. But it performed, I would say, performed to a reasonable standard, shall we say. I still believe we're probably very early to see where they're going to go, because ultimately they need to find a way to make money. We know from 2020 that it wasn't as successful as they'd hoped. They now need to try and find a way to kind of bring at least revenue in there, and that there is undoubtedly there are people out there, the telecommunications companies that have struck partnerships, who are interested in maybe trying to, being in a position of trying to do something different, adds another string to their bow in terms of a service or something they can give to their customer, an added value. And that's something we've seen from AT&T this week. So I think we need to wait it out and see what happens. I think if in some respects, if history teaches us anything, you're probably not going to see anything for maybe 3 or 4 months before you kind of really understand how those chips are falling and where they're going to land, in terms of how it's shaping up, how it's all going to work out.
Yeah. I'm going to answer some of the questions which have came out about this. I know people have been asking why wouldn't they bring their games to Stadia? And the very good answer to this is money, and they are trying to make their service appealing for people to go to it. And yes, all the work has been done to bring the game to Stadia because it's on Stadia infrastructure. but that is their service. So they are going to be trying to build their service up. So why would they put that over there and lose direct money into their own platform? This is what I've been talking about. People think I look too short term. You're looking far too short term. Stadia is here for the long run. Stadia is here for this. Stadia is there for that. One thing I've been very clear on, and again, it's content is king. And this is what we are seeing nearly on a weekly basis, if nearly not a daily basis. Acquisitions and mergers. Today, there's been 2 or 3 within the gaming industry, where they're maybe not big, massive ones, but it's more consolidation, because this is where it's going to be going. It's going to be going down the content route. And with the access to Stadia's tech going forward, if you are Activision Blizzard, if you are Take-Two, you port your games to Stadia, you port your games to Azure, because they're going to have one. You're going to port these games to Amazon. Will you make your games available on the other platforms? And that, the question becomes, why would you, when you're going to be cutting people to your own platform? And we're with this AT&T game deal, I'm just going to put your minds into next year. There's 2 games coming out from Warner Brothers, which is part of AT&T, Suicide Squad and Arkham Knights. What happens if they become cloud exclusive to AT&T using Stadia tech? Them games are probably not going to go to GFN. They're probably not going to go to Stadia. They're probably not going to go to Luna if they're trying to flesh out their whole service there. So, and yes, and Harry Potter too. Yeah, yep. I keep on forgetting about Harry Potter, and that's one of the games I'm really looking forward to.
No, I know. I'm really looking forward to Hogwarts Legacy. It should be a cracker. The one thing, just real quick before you kind of carry on, the one thing that I did want to say whilst we're talking about that kind of state of Stadia and that sort of stuff. One of the biggest one of the biggest questions, I guess, I've got in my mind, and I know this is something we were talking about earlier in the week because I kind of said it to you, but because of some of my thoughts on not just necessarily my thoughts, but some of the outward perception of the impact that Microsoft's acquisition of Bethesda had last year, and the knock-on effect that seemingly had with some of the decisions that were made with regards to Stadia. It does make me question, when we see the announcements that we've seen yesterday from GFN, and I know we're going to come on to GFN, when you see that level and that scale of an announcement, if the acquisition of Bethesda did that from a content perspective, then what does that level of quality improvement from a hardware perspective, and how it powers its cloud, what does that then do? That's kind of, that's 2 consecutive years, let's say, where there've been big things that have rocked stuff, and 1 year it's content, and then the next year where they've dropped content in a year that kind of they've not had returning franchises and that sort of stuff. We now see kind of other not market leaders, but other market players drop performance upgrades into their cloud services. There is an element of me in my mind questioning kind of what is that next move? What is the next step? Where do they go? Where does that road lead?
Yeah, this news out from the white label, and I think we're going to have to just see who. It's what I make my joke about what game's next, who's next going to take up this offer on it, and I think this just raises more questions and answers at this moment in time. And I think people jumping in saying, oh, looks like it's slightly different than what Stadia's running. No, this is running better than what Stadia. Reasons could be this could be a completely and utterly separate instance of this running somewhere else in another data center which isn't connected to Stadia. Yes, it is using Stadia tech, but it might not be. It might be a completely split off part of it because it is for their commercial users, and they don't want to mix that up with the consumer part. This brings us on to probably the status Stadia, and I'll go to Monkey Boy's point here because I think this is basically where my head is at with Stadia at this moment in time. I'll expand. It's not. They could flip the switch and give us 1440p, 128, and they could go out and buy EA and just pull an EA from my backside and say, we are all in on gaming. We are going to do that. They could turn around tomorrow and go, we're just 100% white label. The communication coming out, we just don't know. They're not giving one clear picture either way. They're not giving the impression that they're fully committed to Stadia, but they are not giving the. Sorry, they're not giving the impression that they're fully committed to Stadia, and they're not giving the impression that they're not fully committed to Stadia. It's just bang in the middle, and there is just nothing coming out. It is, for me, it's a zombie-like state at this moment in time where Stadia is still alive, but it's just not looking good. We just need to have a new something to get us really pumped up for what is going to be happening in Stadia. Because let's be brutally honest here. This year we have had they're probably the two biggest rivals in the cloud gaming space. In Microsoft and GFN both announce and implement upgrades. This announcement of moving to the 30 series by GFN was announced months ago that they were going to be looking into it. Xbox said they were going to be upgrading to Series X, and they have now upgraded to it. Stadia have said 2 years ago that 8K 120 FPS is possible, and we're getting 30 FPS ports 2 years into Stadia's lifetime now. We're getting to a stage where we need Stadia to actually come out, say something, and put their actions or words in the actions from a while ago. I know that they have said that they are not going to announce things ahead of schedule. Boys and girls, we're in a situation, we're in gaming here. This isn't any other sort of thing. You need to announce things because people will just move on. And bad decisions now can have years of consequences. And if you don't believe me, look up Xbox One and PlayStation 4. One thing ruined the whole of the Xbox One's life cycle. And it has only took to the Xbox Series X really coming out to change that mindset. This is how long things actually stay in the gamers' minds. So you need to really start pushing back on some of this stuff. You need to come out and hammer it. And when we're talking about Google and Stadia, we are not talking about anybody in particular. We're talking about the organization as a whole. We're not saying X at Google should be doing a better job. It is the generic Stadia.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with what you're saying there, and I think just while you kind of got Monkey Boy's point up on the screen, it is worth kind of going back to that thing that we've covered on the Stadia show a few times, that they've been working on Stadia since 2013, so they're in year 8 technically. They're in year 2 from a public facing site, but technically from a behind the scenes perspective it's year 8. And I agree. Those comments you're referring to from John Justice in the state of, we're not going to announce these things, that you're not going to necessarily see these things, they're just kind of, they won't be done ahead of time, they'll happen and blah 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 and this sort of stuff. Whilst it's a different strategy, and you appreciate the honesty that was dished out in that interview. I think when the competition are doing what they are doing and they're coming out and saying, well, actually, do you know what? In our cloud, we've got Xbox Series X. now powering the clouds. And in our cloud, we've now got a tier that supports RTX 3080, which gives you 3 times the power of an Xbox Series X. Those are pretty big messages, which tells you one or two things. The approach either says they can't compete and they're doing their own thing, because if you're not announcing something to compete with your competition, then you're not competing. You are kind of doing something different. You're doing something in your own strategy, which is perfectly acceptable. There is absolutely nothing wrong with kind of going your own way, doing your own strategy, and kind of making it work for you, because ultimately, at the end of the day, they've invested the money to make this work. They clearly have an end goal and an end game of what they need to do, what they need to get to. And whatever way they choose to do it, that's on them. At the end of the day, if they don't hit that, the only people that will feel that pinch really is kind of them, ultimately, because it will hit the bottom line.
Yeah, I'm just going to go back to the white labeling from my perspective. This could signal the end, and I will be frank, and I know that part there is going to probably be the one which gets to get clipped and everybody is going to be talking about, and you'll skip out the bit before that bit. Or this could signal that they are going to put this on a bit of a drip, and they're going to use these white label deals to keep Stadia ticking over until they can get big enough and start really pushing things out. And it's just not a good look for them at the moment. This is why they need to come out and say something, because with the news out from GFN this week, and in the same week GFN announced they're going 3080s, the best graphics card out there, arguably, and they're putting that all into their cloud. The same week that happens, you have Stadia drop, again, and be proud of, because Stadia is fantastic, that they are now a white label service, and the Stadia engineers were saying, yes, this is confirmed, this is AT&T running this. That is the compare and contrast. GFN pushing their tech. We want to be the number one cloud gaming company out there, which you can make a very good point to say that they are now. And Stadia being very proud of their white labeling. Compare and contrast is what I would say there.
Yeah, 100%.
I just really hope Stadia. I'm just trying to put this right here. What I get asked, what would you want Stadia to do? I would want Stadia to come out and announce a Connect, and announce a whole range of games coming 2022 and 2023. And we're not talking indie games. I am talking big hitting games. Come out and confirm. I can't even think. The games that went out from my head. Some of the games from the PlayStation event, which were multi-plat. So some of the big hitters for next year, the new Borderlands game and the Harry Potter game. Games like this get people really, really excited that Stadia is here. They are going to be sticking around, because no disrespect to Peppa Pig. Peppa Pig has its audience there. That is not going to draw not even hardcore gamers, the casual gamers looking to come back into games, just like we were talking about with the Xbox and PlayStation Now section there. They're getting Gran Turismo remakes going under their services. Why can't that happen to Stadia as well? They need to be in the conversation of these big games, and they cannot afford any more of these big, massive third-party games to slip away, like we've had with Football Manager, we've had with F1, we have had with NBA 2K21, and that sort of ilk. It is just maddening out there that they've actually lost these caliber of games, and these aren't Mickey Mouse games. And I know there has been a lot of talk about the numbers. I always get the NDP figures.
NPD.
Yeah, you look at September's NPD figures for September in the UK, and games, it's either 2 and 3 or 3 and 4, were NBA and F1 2021, 2 games which were annual franchises on Stadia, which are now gone. So this is why they need to get these games back, and they need to come out and make a statement to get people enthused about this.
Yeah, 100%. We already know that 2022 is going to be absolutely wall-to-wall packed with games. There's games that have gone from this year to slip into next year. There's games that were planned for release in 2022. And what we need is that event, coming towards the end of the year, where Stadia can actually put themselves out there and say, okay, right, guys, these are the kind of things that you can expect from Stadia in 2022. Because there are certain games that you can pinpoint and can pick out, and you think, actually, yes, that should 100% be on Stadia. They need to go out and get it, but they need to better come out and kind of show people that that's what they're going to be doing. Because with 8.5-9 weeks left of 2021. We don't really know, with the exception of Rainbow Six Extraction and maybe 1 or 2 others.
We've got Avatar as well, which is an Ubisoft game. Again, excluding Ubisoft games, that's where the talk really needs to be, because Ubisoft are, as Andy has politely said, the village bag in gaming terms. They put their games absolutely everywhere. Their games just appear. They don't care where their games are. If they can port it, they will bring the port across nice and easy and get it going there. And
I'm just going to come back to this real quick. It's been worked on and been in existence since 2013, Monkey Boy. Yes, GeForce Now has been, in existence since 2015. Absolutely. But go out there and go and check the details. You will see that this project was being worked on in 2013. So yes, you may have only had it in your hands for just under that short amount of time, but it's existed for a lot longer.
And GFN, and I'm just putting this to be fair as well, the GFN would be older than the 7 years as well, because it would have been working on before them. And I think that bit was fair. Is there any other ones you want to bring up there? But again, I want to get as many games on Stadia as possible, because that is where it's easy to send people. I have been on record, and I've been on record in numerous places saying this. If I was to recommend someone to go play cloud gaming for the first time, I would say go play in Stadia, go play Destiny 2, jump in and play Destiny 2 there, have a bit of crack. And it's a free-to-play game. You don't have to put any money down or anything like that. You can just go and play it. If you want to go and play some more sort of games, I would actually, you've dipped your toe and you like Stadia, you can stay with Stadia and go to Stadia Pro. But then I would start saying, if you want to get more games and you want to broaden your diversity of what you're going to play, it's go to Xbox and go to GFN, because they have the broadest reach of games, and you'll be in a real good space there. It's the cloud gaming space is just evolving all the time, and Stadia just feels like it is stuttering. It is going backwards. Yes, I've already explained why I think it is going backwards. It is losing the yearly multi-platinum titles. The other services arguably now have got more powerful hardware in them than Stadia. So Stadia's tech is now showing its age. It was brilliant when it launched, but now it is really starting to show its age, and we're seeing it with the ports which are coming across now as well. They really need to come out and do something. But we've been saying this for I can say that we've been saying this for over 2 years, that the communication needs to be better out from Stadia.
Definitely. Yep. I think we've and is there anything else you want to cover on that?
Oh, was there any questions or anything here when I was going off on my
I was just thinking, Happy did actually have a question, which it's a difficult question to answer, but he'd asked the question. He's asking specifically you, Duncan, so we're going to put you on the spot. Do you think that Stadia have nothing to say and Google have taken over and now run it like a tech company and not like a gaming platform?
That is something I have said for 18 months to 2 years. It is something. It is ran by tech people and it's got too many tech leads in it and not enough gamers. So it really needs to get more gamers at the heart of Stadia so that it can really appeal to the gamers to come across. Let me see.
I appreciate the feedback. I don't think we're necessarily too hard on it. I think Stadia set their expectations themselves. You know, Phil Harrison sat on a sofa and stood on a stage and said that 8K 120, and that they're building and bringing a future where that box under the TV is no longer required. Now, I'll be the first to admit that concept of both cloud gaming, we know it works 100%, absolutely, but they firmly set their targets on going toe to toe with those big boys, the competition in the market. And I think if we're brutally honest, they have not lived up to that expectation. That's why I kind of feel in the way that we critique the platform, as much as we can talk about the good, we can also critique it. That's why I feel the critique is justified, because they set the expectations themselves. I didn't set the expectation that they were going to compete with next gen consoles. They set that expectation, and that's you are ultimately, you live or fall on that sword that you kind of make yourself, really, and that's one of those things that I think is been realised, that maybe it was an over ambitious statement to be putting out there and to be throwing down.
Yes, I'm going to go to Anthony's question here as well. What if the plan for Stadia is just for the casual gamer and they make their most money from white labels, so the player base doesn't matter? What is your thoughts? Casual gamer. Define a casual gamer.
I don't know.
And I'm not trying to be a moonbeam or anything about that. What is a casual gamer?
In my head, when I hear people use the term, I would say the people that maybe game once, maybe twice a week if they get time. But
Okay.
There's no commitment. Ultimately, they're still a gamer, but...
Yeah. But what games do they play?
FIFA, COD.
See, this is why I really hate the terminology, and that's why I always do my stupid quotations when I'm doing it. Hardcore and casual gamer. If I sit and play 100 hours of Fortnite a month, that's all I play. Am I a hardcore gamer or am I a casual gamer? Because people think Fortnite is a casual game, but I'm playing for 100 hours a month. That makes me a hardcore player because I'm playing that one game. This is why for me, these terminologies, casual gamer and hardcore gamer, if you're attracting the casual gamer, that means for me that you need as many games as possible on the platform, because casual gamers just don't know what they're going to play. But you do need to get the big hitters, the most popular games out there. FIFA is on Stadia, which is absolutely great. Madden is on Stadia, absolutely great. NBA is no longer on Stadia. Fortnite is not on Stadia. Call of Duty is not on Stadia. What is this casual gamer, and what are they going? What games do they want to play? Again, these are big topics where you can actually really go to town and have massive discussions. Going back to FIFA, go on Reddit and you will see the threads on Reddit about FIFA and the problems people are having getting matches. Yes, that message. Yeah, I just the people are actually having a lot of issues actually connecting to matches and doing the multiplayer in it and going up the different leagues. I don't like FIFA. I am on record. I do not like FIFA. I'm a pro Evo man. Barry can talk more about FIFA than I can. But there's different leagues, and if you go up the different leagues, the player base goes down because you're meant to be playing against harder people. That's basically it, isn't it? People at your sort of level. Yeah. Okay. Was there any other things here which you would like to come to?
Just flicking through.
Yeah. Oh, have I froze? No.
No, you're not frozen.
Casual gamer, the gamer who is satisfied with playing video games. They do not need every latest and greatest game. That's very general. But I can tell you that latest and greatest games would interest the casual gamer. That is why you need as many games as possible on it. There are people, this is especially if you're a paid for platform, as in you buy your games. If the new Tomb Raider comes out and it is not on Stadia, there's going to be a lot of noise out there. Oh, the new Tomb Raider's out. I want to play that. I'm a casual gamer. I hear everybody talking about this is the greatest Tomb Raider going. For me, that's the sort of in this example here. If that game's not on it, they're not going to play it because it's not going to be there, and they're going to miss out on it. Again, the games matter until the games coming to a service don't matter until the game you want to come is not coming. WWE 2K22. I remember. So that is something you need to keep an eye on.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's yeah. I feel like we've made these points to death at points. You know, it's been super interesting. I'm just looking at kind of looking through a few of these things that sort of people are kind of going through, and that, you know, they're all valid points, and I think they definitely. There's been a couple, you know.
But this is exactly what we want.
Of course it is.
We want these discussions, like Caseball said that they're not an xCloud, but and I'll go back and say what I've just said there, which Xbox is not a paid for platform where you do not buy your games on Xbox, so you don't expect them games to be there. You expect games where you go out and physically put your money down to buy. You're going to a store to buy games. If them games are not there, questions get asked. If you're on Netflix, you do not expect all the latest movies on Netflix. You expect the Netflix originals and the older movies on Netflix or older TV shows. You don't expect brand new movies which are developed by Netflix to be there. See, that's where my head is with it. Anders, I'm still old. I'm still playing the last year's version. I've got my Master League and I am absolutely rocking that. which is class.
Thank goodness for that, is all I'm going to say.
Yes. Okay. Just going down here, yes, I agree at this point by Maker here that the casual gamers would love those GTA masters, because I've actually seen a comment exactly like this on Twitter here today, where Stadia, they love Stadia because it's got them back into gaming, and they've actually missed playing these games, and they're really disappointed that they have not made their way onto Stadia, because they thought exact same point that would be the perfect games to come to Stadia. Again, just because it's not announced doesn't mean it's coming to Stadia, but plan accordingly that it's not coming to Stadia because the new logo isn't there, would be my advice on that. The best ice hockey team in the world is, of course, the Belfast Giants, and everybody knows that. Raise your hand.
I'm not in a position to say anything after last weekend, so I'm not going to respond to that.
I just ask you this question. Raise your hand if you've got a Belfast Giants mug. So, best ice hockey team in the world by far.
I stitched up there. Stitched up a treat. Chat is absolutely popping, isn't it?
I know you guys complain about the communication from Stadia. Where's the communication from GFN? Can you link to me where I get updated on the latest and greatest and guaranteed releases? GFN release a blog every single month. I have said this before, and I will say this again. I want them to be pushing out games. I want to know the biggest games coming to GFN so I can plan accordingly. But they do put out a roadmap every month of the games coming each month. And every week on Thursdays at 2 o'clock UK time, 9 o'clock Eastern, yes, and 6 a.m. Pacific, they drop what games are coming through their service each and every week. And that's usually in double figures. And you know what you're getting, and you get your free games off Epic, and you get everything like that. You just get out there and you get all the info out from them, and they're very, very consistent. And if they may not give you the answers you want, as in sorry guys if you're watching, when is GTA 5 coming? But they will respond and say whatever the answers are. They try and be really, really communicative, and I have nothing but good things to say about the guys at GFM.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that level of interaction and the ability to kind of get that information, and kind of be in a position to better kind of put that information out is certainly very different. They do a really, really good job. And certainly, from a personal perspective, I've not had a bad experience in that respect.
Yes, and what I can tell you about GFN as well is GFM want the constructive feedback. They want to hear that you're having problems with X, Y, and Z. Like the problems, we've put a video up today about, for Barry's did this, where the Ubisoft thing about getting into Riders Republic is the one where you have to link up your account. Yes, they want to hear about that, and they are trying to look into fixes. If you have any constructive feedback at that, they are trying to get things looked at.
Yeah, definitely. They want it. They want to make the platform better. They want to hear the difficulties that people are making. They're aware of them, and we've seen elements of that this year where they've tried to streamline and improve the process from if you've got your Epic account, for example, if you're a Fortnite player, you've got that connect, that sync, you can kind of boot Fortnite and off you go. There's kind of the UI improvements. They're trying to increase or they've gone through a process of trying to increase boot times, etc. Earlier in the year. So it's been building steadily, and everything has been taken on board.
Yep, I'm going to move on. I've just realised how long we've been talking. We may seem that we're hard, we may seem that we're critical in Stadia. It is because we want Stadia to do so well, and there's no point deceiving people in my head about the problems on Stadia. And that is not calling anybody out or anything. I just want to make that clear. This is for me, where I sit. I'm being honest from where I sit, and people will be honest from where they sit as well. From where I'm saying, I think Stadia is in a complete another mess at this moment in time, and they really need to fix things up. And that's where I am with it. We will go Cloudy Bot! Go Cloudy Bot!
It's going mental tonight.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. Okay,
it's actually put Colm in timeout for a second.
Sorry, Colm. We will have a look at that. So, Duncan, GFN now does a monthly blog, just like does Correct. Why are you always complaining about status communication? GFN does a monthly update, and they do a weekly update. They have so much to cover in this, and if Stadia was dropping the amount of games that GFN were dropping, I don't think anybody would complain about the same sort of standards what they are doing. They are also starting to ramp up their marketing with other things, like just look at the Guardians of the Galaxy. GFN are pushing on now, and the amount of streamers and stuff they have signed up. They signed up a couple of new ones yesterday following this news. And it's just real it's fun. It's again, if you don't really follow the GFN space, they are pretty communicative, and they come out and say what they need to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, speaking of GFN, we will move on. We need to motor on here. We're coming on to GFN, and it's just a load of fun. And okay. Well, I don't want to go down that one. We'll just go on to the GFN one at this moment in time. GFN have had an absolutely amazing week. They have taken over the cloud gaming airwaves. For people who don't know, and they are putting 3080 RTX into the cloud. They're doing all this fancy technology. I'm going to call it G-Sync for the cloud. I'm going to tell you now, I have experienced that today. I was playing a game which was having some issues before. It's actually the game, not my connection or anything like that. There's something not quite with the game. And after playing it with this new update, it has fixed the stuttering on it, which is absolutely amazing. It is really noticeable, and it is absolutely class. We also got GFN. My head is just pickled. We got new words on GFN, which is absolutely amazing. And Barry, can you take away? Our heads are pickled with all the news here this week with GFN.
Okay, so obviously we've covered off the RTX, we've covered off the fancy G-Sync in the cloud. Obviously, there is more. There is also more power under the hood in terms of the individual rig that kind of you're going to be able to have access to. There's a new membership tier. So obviously that the announcement of the RTX 3080 has brought with it a third tier in the tiering system for GFN, which sits at $100, €100, or 89 or 90 pounds bar the pennies. For 6 months worth of access, which gives you kind of an 8-hour game session 1440p, 120 frames per second with RTX on the 3080. Do you want me to say what I was about to say, or yeah? Okay. And on the 3080 tier, that is kind of it's persistent access to the 1440, 120, the settings that you kind of turn up. It's not dependent on the game. So when you're into that rig, you ramp those settings up, and it is it's persistent on that tier.
Okay, just in case people do not understand persistent, I just want to clarify this point. What does that mean?
I was going to use the word constant. But
okay. What happens at this moment in time? If I go in and I'm playing, I'm just thinking of an RTX. I don't want. I'll use it. I'm going to use the bad word. I'm playing Cyberpunk on. Yep. I'm playing Cyberpunk. I'm on the priority tier, and I change my settings. What happens when I log out from Cyberpunk and go back into Cyberpunk?
Oh, you've got to go back and change the settings.
So what happens? What happens if I'm lucky enough to get access to the 3080 tier? What happens then?
It's plain sailing. It is plain sailing, baby. You make that change, that's the way it's staying.
Yeah, absolutely. So that has been a feature what has been asked for GFN for such a long time. Going in and having to manually change your settings each time is a pain in the backside. For me, most of the time I don't change my settings. It's only sometimes I change my settings. Like the game I've changed my settings on recently in GFN was Far Cry 6. I put everything up to ultra and put the dynamic resolution on, so I kept my 60 FPS. So with this, it is a real good.
Yeah, absolutely. They are. They've made massive strides, and I think on the power side of it, yes, we've talked about that power and those things that they're gonna, they're bringing, and to give an example of that we're talking 3 times the power of an Xbox Series X, which is, as of November last year, the proclaimed most powerful console in the world. I know some people might debate and say, well, actually, hang on, the PS is better. That was the claim that was made from the Series X perspective. It's the most powerful console in the world. And here we are with a cloud gaming service that is going to give you 3 times that power. From my personal perspective, given the fact that I've got access to Stadia, I've got access to GFN, I've got an Xbox, I've got a PS5, I've got Switch, all that sort of stuff, and this does kind of tie into Colm's point. That's a hugely exciting announcement for cloud gaming in general. It draws a line in the sand. It puts a marker down to say, actually, we are taking things to the next level. Because not only is that performance there in terms of that power, they've also reduced the latency. So the stats and the indications that have come out from the testing they've done on this new RTX 3080 tier shows that they've got a latency of 56 milliseconds, which when you compare that to the likes of the Series X, we see it in comparison to the current tier. It's a considerable step down. We then look at where it is in comparison to Series X, and it's a considerable step down. It's a massive improvement. And comparing that to the Series X, not only in a power but from a latency perspective, is a game changer. That brings it so close to being local hardware. It's a whole other world from what we've been accustomed to experiencing. Whilst cloud is good and that experience is good, this takes it to a whole new level.
I'm just going to, I can't find the comment here, but I'm going to try and find it because I think Anthony had a question out here. I think I've lost it. I've lost the plot. Oh, here's it here. How cool is it able to say that cloud gaming is ahead of consoles and consoles have to catch up? If you were a Stadia user, when Stadia launched, you could pretty confidently say that some of the games ran better than consoles before. Destiny 2 is the perfect example. This is before the Series X and the PlayStation 5. Some games ran better than Stadia than the consoles. This is just taking this to a complete and utterly new level, 3 times as powerful as the Series X. And both of these are the hypothetical sort of ones. So in reality, both numbers are going to be a bit lower. That's just how all this sort of works. But yes, this is going to be a lot more powerful than the Series X. We don't know if the specs of the Series X. Series X, that's Anthony's other sort of stuff there. On the PlayStation 5 Pro will be, but I think this upgrade will probably even keep them ahead of that as well, possibly.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you look at how the consoles tend to jump, particularly the next iteration will be a small incremental kind of jump, so it will offer benefits. Yes, they may aesthetically look slightly different, they may find a way to cool better, or whatever, but they certainly, I wouldn't be anticipating that the likes of the PS5 Pro or that kind of next installment is going to is going to make that jump.
And that is a good point by Anders as well. Something else to consider. That's why I was saying about the theoretical and things like that. Again, I need to really explain myself a bit better. This is why console games look so good compared to PC games as well, and why there's so much value in console games, because console games are just looked at that spec and they try and get as much power out from that as possible. So that is a very valid point here as well. So it's just a real exciting time for GFN, and we've got the big game next week, which is Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's going to have RTX on it. Again, we're giving that away. If you are a member at Cloudy, you have the opportunity to win that next Thursday when we give it away. But this GFN announcement this week has just got people talking in the wider gaming sphere. It has got people pumped up there. And again, we'll talk about the negative here. There's a lot of people in the PC gaming space who are disappointed and annoyed about this because they think Nvidia has been hoarding the 3080 cards just to put into their cloud gaming service, and or they're artificially lowering supply to push people towards this service. Again, I think it's right to actually say that. I don't think that is the case. I just think it's just one of these things. I think this has been planned for a while, and because of the chip shortage.
Don't make that mistake, will you?
Yeah, no, the chip shortage. It's just been a bad time for this. The pricing has got a lot of talk. Some people saying this is far too expensive. Some people are saying the pricing is absolutely fabulous value for money, and there's some agent who will name nameless said they could probably charge a bit more for this because this is absurd value for money. We don't listen to that agent. Context: this is $200 a year, £180 a year, £90 for the 6 months, which you have to pay, or $100. I'm just putting the yearly cost there. A RTX 30 card will cost you, at this moment in time, if you're being honest, yes, the recommended retail price is under $1,000. You don't get them for under $1,000. Even if you put it to the recommended retail price of about $700 mark, I think it is.
I think it's about 650, 700.
You're talking a couple of years to get that, and that is just the graphics card. That is not the other stuff on top, like the processor and the memory and all that. The pricing in this is extremely fair. The reason why it is more expensive, this is a premium product. I don't like using this, you heard me earlier, but this is for the hardcore gamers who want to have the best graphics, the best hardware to really push things on. I would not be surprised to see some people move on to this if they're really into Fortnite to get their 120 FPS and things like that. And Monkey Boy, if you remind me, I'm going to answer your question now, just as I'll remember. Yes, if you play Riders Republic on one platform, the save carries on. Unfortunately, that happened to me because I was looking to play it for 4 hours on each platform, and because my accounts are linked, it jumped to the cross. But this new card is really going to be. It's got people excited. It's got people talking. It's like, oh my god, I can get a 3080 and I can play this, and it is a reasonable price point. My feeling, the price point is there, and you have to pay up front, is they are trying to target the people who are going to want this card want this tier first and foremost. This isn't for people who want to try to see how it is. This is for people who really, really want this card or this tier, and who are completely and utterly committed. They want to get their hardcore, I hate using the word hardcore, their hardcore fans, their most committed fans out there to experience this first. And then I believe it will go down to the monthly tier.
Yeah, definitely. I think with its initial launch, they're just looking from that commitment and that buy-in from people, so that they don't necessarily want a month of somebody playing it. That because it's important to be, there are people out there that it is important to. I think what they are looking is they are targeting that market where they'll go, actually, do you know what? This is really important to me. I'm going to spend that $200 across the course of the year, to have that level of experience.
Okay. What I'm getting here is just I hear a lot of talk about their interface. The interface needs work, and the UI needs to tweak and needs to do this and needs to do that. Yes, parts of the UI need to be tweaked. The signing in process needs to be slimmed down a bit. However, I would make a good. I play on the Shield primarily, and I play on the PC a bit. Finding games on the Shield for me is easier than finding games on the Chromecast.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'd agree with that.
Would anybody else in the chat agree with that or not? If you've got a Shield, do you find it easier to find games on Stadia or GFN if you're looking for a game to play? Because the games come up for me, if you're not aware of what the Shield interface is, it comes up with all the games, and I just scroll down. It's a bit like the Xbox interface, where you can go through all the different apps. I go click on Nvidia games, they give you a list of games, then you go into my library and you can scroll down, and they have your most recently played games at the top. But if I want to have just a full list of all the games you've got, you can just scroll down, and it's not going across, it is going down. You've got like 5 or 6 ones down there, and you can go down really quickly. And when your library expands to hundreds of games, it is really good to actually just jump in and see that. I personally feel the UI in that respect is ahead of Stadia, but Stadia logging in and just playing from start to finish, if you click on your game, Stadia is a bit better.
Yeah, definitely. The only thing I think the only caveat from a personal perspective that I can add to that is I also myself, because I'm security conscious, make life harder for myself because I've got 2-factor on Steam, I've got 2-factor on Epic, I've got 2-factor on Ubisoft Connect. I've literally got 2-factor everywhere. So regardless of how easy they make that initial sign-in process to connect the account, I'm always going to have that 2FA notification where I'm going to need to accept or put in that 6-digit code to say, yes, it's me, I'm the one that's accessing, So, but personally, that's something that I've elected to do, so I can't necessarily criticize because I've put an additional step in place, but that's because it's something that's important to me on a security perspective.
Yes, and this is why we want different opinions out there. See, that there's some things good, better in Stadia. There's some things for me better in GFN. There's some things worse in Stadia, and there's some things worse on GFN as well. And the login thing, if you're security conscious and with that two-factor, it does start to become a pain in the backside every so often, where you have to do that or that. As the case may be. But for me, the Steam for me, I haven't had to use my two-factor in a long time on Steam.
No, Steam's the best one. I think Epic and Ubi are probably the biggest culprits in that respect. Steam is pretty consistent. I could just fire up and go.
Epic for me, I think it's came on leaps and bounds as well. It's Ubisoft and EA, and we do know about the EA issues on GFN as well with the multiple logins, which I think that's still being worked on at this moment in time.
Yes, it is, yeah.
But again, there's positives and there's negatives, but I don't think GFN's interface and finding games is any. For me, is easier than Stadia, but the login issues can be a bit of a pain. But then, because you're using Steam, you also get the added benefits of stuff in there where you can bring up the interface and you can add things. You can. Is that better UI where you can go into Steam and add that, or is that worse UI again?
Yeah.
Yes.
I know where you're coming from. It is, but I think it is. You've said it there, and there are kind of it swings and roundabouts. There are positives and negatives on on both in both respects, and I think that's fair to say, and it's fair to put that out there.
This is this is some of the misinformation I hear. It's very expensive for your average person to get into. The TV unit is $250. No, it's not. That's if you go for a Shield. It's on Google TV. It is. You can play it on Google TV. You can play it on other Android devices as well. So if you're making that point, that means Stadia is expensive. Swings and roundabouts. Again, this information is not really out there. You can go play it on your browser. You can play it on your phone as well, and you've got the same positives as Stadia in that regard. So I think that's some of the misinformation. If you want the best experience for GFN, I think it's a Shield.
Hands down, yeah.
If you want the best with the upscaling and with the new features coming, more that's going to be 4K 60 HDR on the Shield. Yeah, you're going to need to do that. But it's the same entry cost. Arguably, it's cheaper entry cost. No. Actually, I'm wrong there. Sorry, it's the same entry cost for playing on the TV as Stadia, more or less.
Yeah.
So there is that. 250 versus totally free for Stadia. Again, we've just proved that's completely and utterly incorrect. You can play on your browser, you can play on an app. It is also they're also getting a TV app as well on some TVs.
Yeah, they are.
Just like Stadia. Again, that's some of the misinformation out there. Okay, let's get on to where do we think GFN is going now following this announcement? What is the state of GFN?
I think if we very quickly in a couple of milestones, kind of review the year that they've had so far. We've got doubled the member base or subscriber base, whatever term you want to use. So we're now at 12 million.
I will clarify this, and I'll come to Patrick's point as well. It is 1,200 people, 12 million members.
Yeah.
There is no clarification, are these paid members or are they on the free tier. Patrick, the same entry cost with a 1 hour time limit if you're on the free tier. The reason why there's a free tier, and I have said this and I will say it again, I think the free tier needs revamped. It needs maybe even scrapped, because I don't think that is a good indication of how things are. When you're playing on that free tier, that's actually costing Nvidia money, because they don't make any money on GFN bar from subscriptions. So if you're playing there, they are not making money. If you play a game on Stadia, there is many different ways they can make money. If you buy something in the free-to-play game, they're getting money. If you sign up to Stadia Pro, they're getting money. You buy a game on Stadia, you get money. So that is why there is the 1 hour limit. And personally, like I said, I think that needs looked at. In some countries, I believe it's only 30 minutes, the free tier. So there is that. So that is why there is the 1 hour limit.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Do you want me to carry on?
Yes.
Yeah. So we've got the member base at 12 million. They reached the milestone of over 1,000 games. We've now got to that point of they are putting on offer the most powerful hardware in the cloud. I think when you start to build that picture, they're now bringing partners back into the fold. We're seeing games come back to the service that left. Obviously the most recent one being EA in kind of bringing more games to the service. Obviously Apex have been on there for a while, but we've now got Battlefield, we've got Super Mega Baseball, there's is it Dragon Age, there's all of these ones that have come recently, and I think that sets the stage nicely for them to continue. Now, they were even confident enough to put that press release to say in that interview, when they said it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when the people come back to the platform. Now, when you've got those kind of performance stats in terms of the amount of game streams that have been, made, and the amount of members, the amount of games, the fact that now we're in a position where 9 out of the top 10 played games on Steam are available on GeForce Now, it puts itself in a position where it's creating a demand from publishers, and developers to want to be on the platform. And they have that open ecosystem with saying, well, actually, do you know what? If your game's on Steam, if your game's on Epic, if your game's on GOG, we'll bring it all in. You can kind of play it. We've obviously now got EA, where we've got Origin coming in. That's the advantage they've got. So from a health perspective, they are moving forward in the right direction. They're on a good trajectory.
I forgot actually to do this when we were just talking about GFM, because we like doing things like this. It's just to just highlight the things you can pick up for cheaper on GFM. And here we go. There we go. There is a new bundle out, and again, we want all games on GFM. We want all games on Stadia. You can pick this bundle up for £13.20, so $15 mark, and you will get all these games. And the 2 games which aren't on GFN are Knights of the Pen and Paper 2 and Ice Lake. So you can pick up this Paradox bundle for £12. I know Crusaders Kings 2 is free on GFN, with the 95 other free-to-play games on the platform. You can pick the rest of these games as well for $15. So that is a new one out there. Paradox games are usually very deep, and you can really stick hours into it. People can play Crusader Kings for thousands of hours, so we're talking major time. Empire Sin is more a normal time. It's not a big massive strategy game. It's a bit less than that. Age of Wonders is a 4X game. Imperial Rome, I'm not 100% sure, but I think is that more a grand strategy game. Might be more a grand strategy game. Yeah, it looks a bit more like that. Prison Architect is a lot of fun. You build up your own prisons. Just in case you're interested, there was another bundle. We do like to do that there.
Yes, indeed. I'll throw it over to you now. I think I probably, in terms of state of it, I've probably covered where I see it and kind of what I see sort of going forward. So,
Monkey Boy, we've talked about it. You don't need the $250 Shield Pro. You can play this on a Chromecast. Chromecast with Google TV. You can play GFN.
Yep.
You do not need that. So you need to knock that in the head, basically. Because that is false information getting spouted there. So you can play it with that, and you do not need to buy the Shield TV. Buying the Shield TV is the best way to play, but it's not the only way to play on the TV. GFN going forward, I'm just excited. I want to see what partners they are going to bring. I would like them to bring 2K into the stable, bring them across, and get all them on it. And it is just for me. GFN's next step is the day and date games with EA and day and date games with a outside publisher, outside of Square, outside of them. It's going to be the next Take-Two's, it's going to be Activision. I think that is going to be where the next big push is. Oh, yes. So, yes, if you go to the Epic Game Store, they've got a sale at the moment. If you have not signed up to their mailing list, they will give you $10 or £10 or 10 funny Canadian dollars. You know that's not really a currency. And if the game's over £15, $15, you take that £10 off and you pay whatever it is remaining, and that's on top of the sale price. So if the sale price says it's £15, you put that £10 coupon onto it. You drop off. Sorry, that will put it down to a $5 then for you. Bye, Seb. Thanks for joining. So yeah, that is the good thing there. But the state of GFN, it's just exciting. They have pushed. They've moved the goalpost way down the line now, and they are in a real great spot. And I'm expecting big announcements out from them, and I'm just real excited of where they're going to next. This is what an announcement does. It gets people infused about what is going to happen next. Speculation will always come down the line, and this is what you want.
Yeah, of course. I think it is, and I think you are right to have some of those. In some respects, you are right to kind of have some of those elements of speculation. In terms of looking at some of the moves that have been made. Like I know you kind of went out and pretty sure, I can't remember whether it was last night or one of the previous ones where we've talked about it. But you're in a position now where you kind of feel relatively confident that we're going to see an announcement that the next Battlefield is going to drop onto GFN with the new tier and everything that's kind of going on with that buzz with EA, and that's a massive thing. But that's with the steps that are being made, it's a logical thing to look at and to think.
Yes, it is indeed. We've got a couple of questions here. Should we go for the naughty question first, or the good, what I call it a nice good question?
We're going to cover them both anyway, so it doesn't matter which way we go.
We'll get the naughty question over and done with. the reason why not all games have 100% controller support is not for it is for PC gamers and people in the PC ecosystem. For me, I am absolutely buzzing for what is going to be coming around the corner. We're just months away. The Steam Deck, the Steam Deck and GFN are going to go hand in hand, and that's not going to have controller support for all the games, but that's expected because it is for PC gamers. This isn't for 100% console gamers. This is for PC gamers and people who are interested in PC gaming. If I'm playing an FPS, I am a heathen. I play with a controller. If I'm playing Transport Fever 2, I am playing with a mouse and keyboard. And the PC space gives you them options, and because it is a PC gaming service, they will have PC only games using mouse and keyboard because you do not play them games with anything else. And Transport Fever 2, brilliant game, is one of them ones. So if you're looking for a real chill out game that will drive you nuts, a chill out game will drive your nuts is exactly what that is, and it is a game you can just lose complete another hours to. Yes, we really need to finish up here. I did think we did think this was going to be a long one, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Yeah. If I don't have a 4K display, is it worth it to get for the new GFN upgrade? I know what I'm going to say. What would you say?
I'm going to commit the cardinal sin, and I'm going to answer a question with a question. You might not have a 4K display, but do you have a 1440 monitor that's capable of 120 frames per second? I think aside of the answer to that question, I would say yes, because you're only going to get better performance, and I think you will still see the difference in terms of that of the performance upgrades that are coming. You might not necessarily be able to take advantage of that. Let's say the 1440 at 120 frames per second. You might not be able to take advantage of the 4K, but you will get an advantage in the performance and everything that comes with it. And
I think we need to be very clear here. As well, 4K is not supported on the PC at this moment in time. It is just 1440 and 120. If you're just going from what the specs are now, I would go for 140, 144, or 1440, 120 monitor. But if you can afford to get a 4K 120 monitor, I would get that for future proofing. That would be my advice there. Monkey Boy, you can use a mouse and keyboard with a Shield TV. So again, I love the try and get me's here and stuff like that. I have sat and played games on my Shield with a mouse and keyboard. You can do that. So sorry. Let me see. Is there anything else there? I'm getting Com's getting it, and he doesn't have 4K TV. 4K monitors are pretty decent, and you can pick a couple of them up for reasonable sort of prices. I think it's what I would say there. Go for what you can afford. You can get a 1440p monitor with 120. I would probably maybe indicate to go for that before a 4K and 60, because I think it's the 120 is going to be the bigger sort of increase there.
I'd agree with that.
Let me see. Yeah. Is there anything else there? No, I think we're going to leave it here because we could start this all off again. And I think it is going to be a lot of crack. I just want to thank everybody for joining us. And we will we'll be back next week. We will be doing What Has Stadia Done Now? I believe.
Yes.
But we may have an announcement during that. You know what the announcement is, and let me see.
Yes, I do.
You do know what the announcement is, yes. We've
Yeah.
got maybe an announcement during that. We have also got the Green Room on Tuesday, and we have our GFM show on the Thursday. GFN show, we're giving away Guardians. Cloudy's Roundup next Friday. We will just see how things actually pan out. We don't really... We made a decision. We were trying not to do this as a live show on a Friday to give us a bit of a space. But this week was a bit different because of the news, and we thought it was sort of needed. So I just want to thank you all for coming, and we hope to see you all again soon. Have a good one, everybody.
See you later. Bye.